This is the Painting Business Pro Show, where we share inspiring stories from people who are just like you, who have created extraordinary results in their business and their life. We'll take the mystery out of it and show you behind the scenes exactly how these results happen. There's a simple process and a roadmap to follow to create life-changing success in business. You are capable of more than you realize. So listen in, discover what's possible, and let's unlock your potential. Let's go. All right, what's up, Grace? So let's start off. First thing is, why are you here?
Okay. Good morning, Eric. That is such a loaded question. I've always been into having my own business. My dad was an entrepreneur, and I was homeschooled, so I didn't have a traditional education path. No one ever told me I couldn't have my own business. And I've tried a couple of different things. And I was in a partnership with this painting company for the last 5 years. And I also had a cleaning company. And then actually, kind of interesting, but November 18th of last year, I went through a very traumatic experience that basically turned my life upside down overnight. So it's kind of interesting, the timing of doing this. But I took over the painting company. I became the sole owner. And then I realized I did not know what I was doing, and I had 5 kids. I felt like I wasn't providing the life for them, and that I wanted to, that I envisioned. And I thought I was pretty good at marketing and getting my name out there, but I didn't know anything about the back end of stuff, and I had never done an in-person estimate. So I was familiar with the course. I started taking your course and the accelerator in June, and that's when things really began to take off for me. And then I also stayed, not only because of what I fell in love with learning, but because I really appreciated how the course was geared towards including your other life commitments all along the way. And that was different from a lot of what I had heard and studied. And I saw it as a path to create freedom in my family and to really have mastery over my time. And I mean, it's very short, but I just went to the leadership event. I met you there, and I met so many other people, amazing people there. And that's the summary of how I'm here today.
Yeah, perfect. So you answered the question in the best way, which is the big picture reason you're here. So obviously you got 5 kids, and you have your other commitments in your life too. And so building a business to provide the life you want for you, for your kids. And it's been, kind of a crazy 6 to 8 months for you. So what about this call and what you want to get out of this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the course and all of the trainings and webinars really shine a light on how I'm lacking all of the time. It's like when you put a flashlight up to a paint job, you see all the imperfections. That's what I feel like this is for me. So MVP, Master Business Plan, is definitely has been my Achilles heel. Anything foundational and structural, I just like to do, wing it, So yeah. I'm excited for this because this is where I need to grow.
Okay. All right, perfect. So, all right, so let's just kind of dive in. So I'm going to share my screen here. So by the way, if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something, these are going to be more valuable to probably watch on YouTube so you can see what we're looking at. And so let's start with your plan from this year. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Grace? Okay, perfect. So we're just going to kind of cruise over this, and I'm going to comment on things as we go. So it looks like you did some editing on this since I looked at it this morning. A little last minute preparation here. Yeah, you're like, we're not going to get busted with this not being up to date, because I'm like, wait a second, hold on. Yeah. There's some things here. Okay, so I don't think there's a lot here. So basically, you're at 10% or less cost of marketing. I don't think you're, just for you. So this roadmap, Grace, and anyone who wants to watch, you can see plenty of YouTube videos that kind of go through phase 1 of building the business, phase 2 of building the business. And then these are just all the benchmarks kind of along the way that you should be checking off. And so we are going to come back and talk about mastering your time. All right. Because I know that's something you mentioned to me last week, and it's something that's really important, especially given, how busy you are, So we'll talk a little bit about that. Forgive me, I'm going to write a couple notes down as we go. Okay, so and then this 8 to 10 estimates a week, Grace, is a good range for people, but for you, it's probably going to be less. Probably going to be like six.
Okay.
And I say that because the reason we aim for 8 to 10 estimates a week in phase one is because it's a test of efficiency. If you're not able to get 8 to 10 estimates a week done while producing all of that work, so if you let's just say you do 8 estimates and you sell 45% of them. So like for easy math, let's call it 4 jobs. And for most people, it's a $5,000 job size. So that's 20K a week. So you're doing 8 estimates a week, selling 20 grand, and then you're producing 20K a week, and you're doing it profitably, and you're doing it in 40 hours a week or less. That's a test of efficiency. But you might not have 40 hours a week available to you. And so what we're really looking for is, hey, are you efficient and effective at your business enough to start to move into building a team? And so for you, it might be 6 estimates where you're closing on average 2.5, 3 jobs for 12 to 15K a week and producing that in 30 hours a week because you just don't have 40 hours a week. You follow that?
Yes, I do. And I also wanted to
All right.
ask you, like, my average job size is so far it's a lot larger than like I think that I'm seeing in there. And
What is it?
so, what is it? I think right now, I mean, you can look at it on the tab, but I think it's like 9K or something.
Okay, great. Even better for you, so
Yeah,
it might be six, yeah, 20K, and you're still, but it's when you have a higher job size, you also should be able to do more production because it's easier to produce 2 jobs for 10,000 than 20 jobs for 500.
yeah.
You know what I mean? They're both 10, it's both 10 grand, but it's just easy. So anyways, you should still, I think for you, it's like, all right, I really want to aim for 6 estimates a week here. And then all these other things. So set estimating procedure. You want to get that done in the off season. So that's going to be another thing is get Paint Scout set up. That's what I would recommend for you
Oh, I
probably.
have Paint Scout set
Um,
up.
you do?
Yes, but I'm not using the formula. I need to, like, I'm winging it kind of. So I need to
Yeah. So it's
try
got
it
to get
out.
set.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Okay, and then yeah, you already noted this one, which is what we're going to be talking about because I've been looking over the rest of the thing. Okay, so this all looks good. And then 4 hours a week or less. I mean, that's going to largely be because of what you've done up here. All
Yeah.
right, so once you do the master your time training and you've like, hey, this is when I have to work. Like I've only got the 35 hours a week, and you just don't mess with that. You start figuring out how do I get all this done in the 35 hours I have. Um, that's how you're going to get this done is you've got to start to put boundaries on it. And if you're not living by your calendar, then what you're going to be doing is you're planning to react. By not planning everything you're going to do, you're planning to react. And you'll always get it all done, like that works to some extent because like you'll get through the day, but you're not actually intentionally building and designing the business that way. It's going to be like a never ending reaction. It's just going to make everything take a lot longer. So we'll come back to that. All right, so let's jump over to sales plan. So obviously the first big thing here is that it's not filled out completely, right? I think that's correct.
Yes.
All right, so which you already acknowledged on the roadmap. And so for all right, so we'll come back to that. Is this number correct? The 257,000 sold,
No, and I
or is
don't.
that the?
Yeah,
Go
and
ahead.
I get a little confused on that like side of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's only filled out from September because that's when I started really using this.
Right, that's right,
Yeah,
that's right, because it was mastery.
but
Okay, and
yeah,
then there's a missing column here. I don't know how. I was looking at the
I
real
think that's
screen.
yeah, I think that I screwed something up there because
Yeah,
I
you did. You deleted this dollars per week booked column. This column P right
sorry.
here used to be
Okay,
here, and it looks like on October 23rd you deleted it.
okay, that
Um,
makes sense.
so we'll get you a new one. We're going to be sending those out shortly, and we'll make kind of a template for you. But what we really need to know for now is the baseline stats to be able to make your next one. And so for anybody, like this is the beginning of you've got to know your numbers. So if we go back to this roadmap, Grace. And again, I'm going to give you coaching, but really it's for everybody. You're just the guinea pig here for other people to listen in. The reason we say these fundamentals is like, all right, we got to get this master business plan built. That's like the very first thing, and you got to live by your calendar. Like if you're not doing those two things, then you don't have time dedicated to learning. Then there's nothing else to do. Like that's the foundation for your everything. Like you've got to have a master business plan that maps out what your numbers should be, and you've got to have a schedule that you're following because that's how you can intentionally manage your action, which is how you intentionally get results. And you've got to have dedicated, consistent time for learning because you don't know how to do the things you need to do yet. Because if you already knew them, you'd already be doing them. And if you're not dedicating resources to learning and developing yourself, then you're not going to progress. So this is the foundation. But then right away, this is like the thing that's you're right about it, but I think you're underestimating how much it's impacting you and how easy it is to fix. So, and for anyone who's just listening, the thing I'm highlighting is consistently updating her business plan. And so if we look at your residential sales, you kind of have been updating it consistent, but obviously there's not there's some breakdowns on it with not having the total sold on the sales numbers on here. And is this
Yeah.
actually when you started Mastery? Like, did you just put this together just now, or
I mean, I started using it in September. I've probably
okay,
like gone on and updated it like maybe like eight,
half the weeks?
10 times. But one thing that
Yeah,
I do well, which will
yeah.
show some of the numbers, is the job cost cards.
Okay,
So
perfect.
yeah, everything, all of the numbers are there.
Yeah, and the reason, we just started working with Grace on this file in September, which you can see the first time you entered any stats was like I got 3 leads and did 3 estimates. Um, that week, but then there was a few weeks without updates. And then there's this week with just leads. And then some of these other weeks don't have the total sales because something, somehow that got deleted on here. And so we'll need to know those statistics
Okay.
for two reasons. One is throughout the year, you need to know how am I doing and where do I need to adjust? But also for us to build a plan for next year, we need to know like what your baseline is. And so if we just look at these last 5 weeks, Grace, are these stats correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're averaging right now, it looks like about 4 leads a week, about 4 estimates a week, so really high conversion, and you've sold 11 jobs. So 11 for 19 for 21 leads. And then do you know and then your average job size, is about 9K?
Yes.
All right, so that's for about 100 grand. Okay, so we'll need those for building your next plan out. And then
Okay.
same thing with production. So obviously you didn't produce 111,000 the week of October 6th, and then nothing in the 37. I think I'm correct in that, right?
I think that was maybe the month of October.
Yeah. So you just want to update it every week so you can start to know like how do we do every week.
Yeah.
So it's useful. It's not like about turning in the homework to me. It's really like, all right, I just need to know like what do we actually produce reliably every single week.
Yeah.
So you can project better. Okay, and then so anyways, nothing else to say there. All right, so now looking at your job cost cards, we've got client name in the left side and then the total revenue for the project, and this is where we track profitability on every job. And then we've got how much we paid for subcontractors or employees. And then Grace, this workers' comp and insurance burden, is this just the equation that was already in there?
I, I put mine in. I think these like broken down numbers are just the auto populated ones, but it's very
These are
close to what's the like it's supposed to be. It's like maybe
okay.
$300 less or $100 less.
Okay. All right, so we are close on your workers' comp burden.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. And I'm just going to delete this one. It doesn't look like it's going to be an issue. Okay, and then we have materials. So you never have bought any materials. It's always through subs.
I buy samples sometimes, and I did put
Okay.
that in, I think, overhead tracking or
Yeah.
in
Okay.
budget.
Perfect. And then you don't pay sales commission to anyone, correct?
No.
All right. So we're just going to turn all those to zero. All right. So that fixes your margins
Thank you.
because you don't. All right. So then what this is telling us is that you're at a 44% gross profit margin after paying subcontractors and workers comp. And we can also look and say, hey, it was at the beginning, because this is basically an order too, right? If we look at descending order, it was oldest jobs to most recent jobs.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the good news here is it looks like the most recent jobs you've been producing all at over 50% margin.
Yeah, that's something I
which is great.
started like honing in on after Hunter looked at my MVP. So I'm trying to get it to, I think it's at 44% for the year. I think he said I should try to get it to like 45, since it would be very hard to get it to 50.
Yeah, well, and here's what you really want to do is you want to just start to be consistently at 50.
Okay.
So the healthiest business, we would look at this and it would just be the same number on every single job.
Yeah.
We're at Foothills, we'll have a $200,000 production week where we produced, 35 jobs. And if you pull up the 35, every single one of them says 53, every single one.
Nice. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
There might be like one or two out of 35 that say like 55. Or I'm sorry, 51, or like they're off by a few, but 95% of the projects we do are at the same exact margin. So the thing that's great here is if we look at the average, you were actually at a 42% gross profit margin. And then in these last 7 or 8 projects, you're averaging 50. So that's an 8% swing on margin. And so on your 184,000 in business, that's about a $15,000 swing for you in bottom line profit by just that one change. And this is obviously in not an entire year too, right?
Thanks,
Is this your
Hunter.
total revenue for the year right now, Grace?
Yes.
Okay, so 184K on the year. Fixing that margin is going to be everything, because when you go and go do like 500 next year, which is probably what your goal should be, fixing that margin by 8% is a $40,000 swing to your bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's like the biggest. If that's all you did all year this year was fix that margin, it was the most important thing for you to do.
Nice.
Yeah. So all this looks really good, Grace. I forgot that you started when I first looked at this morning. I forgot that you had started in September. So I was like, wow, this is a very blank MVP file.
Yes.
Um,
And I
so
wanted to ask
actually, you're
you, like,
yep.
the 250K is like my Q4 goal. Um, do you think it's reasonable to say 500K next year, or do you?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to
We're
shoot
gonna
for a
build that.
million.
Yeah, we're gonna build your file right
Okay.
now. So I think this looks good. So we have a good baseline for your sales. You're good on profitability, because now you're at these consistent numbers. And if we go back to your roadmap, it's all the right things where you're like, okay, so you are going to need to bump up marketing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
I
just make
just
some
did
notes on
that.
here. So like must complete your master your time stuff. All right, we'll talk about
Okay.
that. We're going to aim for 5 to 6 estimates a week, um, which I think you'll see in the future. That's all you're going to need as the target in phase one for you. And then estimating procedure, like this is like Q4 2024. Like you want to get that dialed in with Paint Scout so it's just accurate. So like 50% pricing exactly every time. Um, and then that'll fix your selling jobs at 50% margin. And you are updating the MVP file consistently now. I think you can probably check that one off now. And then this tech stack, really, it's like I wouldn't be too worried about that for now.
Okay.
I mean, as long as what's the system you're using right now to keep track of your clients
I
and
use,
leads?
yeah, for leads. I just like, what's the word? I would just launch my Facebook campaign today. Just invested in marketing, so I'm going to be using Go High Level for that.
Okay,
Um, I mean, basically that's it. Paint Scout, Google Calendar. Um,
cool.
yeah.
Okay, so when you get a new lead, where does the information for that person go?
Uh, well, I guess my calendar is the way that I really track everything, because I put all of their, like, I don't, yeah, just it goes to my phone or my email, and then I contact them. But I have no, like, I don't have a CRM. I have a little process I follow, but okay, I see that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
All
kind of
right,
using
so we're gonna have you implement a basic Google Sheets CRM for now. All right,
okay, great.
so
Another
Go High
spreadsheet.
Level is gonna end up being able to be that too, but
Okay,
that's gonna be in the course. So this is an easy like Q4 2024 kind of thing for you too, where it's like, all right, I'm gonna finish up this estimating procedure and get that done by the end of the year, and then going into next year, like you got to stick to the master your time and then like just crank up marketing. And honestly, you get that done, and you pretty much have the foundation you need to go and hire somebody, but we're not gonna rush that. So let's look at so this is now we'll look at like building a business plan for Grace for 2025. So this is for a company that's doing, 185, 200K in revenue, which, when did you start officially like take over this business as like, all right, this is my business now? Because it's
At the end
basically
of
a
August.
startup starting.
End of August.
All right, so this is like brand new. So for her 184K, I mean, it's in half the year. So she's
Yeah.
rocking. And let's look. So now let's go build one. All right. So I'm not going to worry about updating this section here, Grace, this roadmap for you. I'll let you transfer that over from the other one. Let's go straight to the budget. Um, so we're going to I'm just going to do a pretty rough version for now, and then you can clean it up. So we're going to just set the way that I think you should go about building a business plan is start basic and just kind of do a broad strokes, and then you go and like tinker and get it dialed in. So we're going to say 500,000. We're going to assume that you don't hire anybody next year, that you're just doing it all yourself. And if you're hitting all of your targets for 500K doing it yourself, and you're like, hey, and I've checked all the boxes in phase one, then you might go hire a project manager next year, and you might go aim for like 600 or 700 with a project manager. So we'll leave. There's going to be room to exceed this target, but we're going to plan on a target you can hit. Make sense?
Yes.
So we're not going to plan on any production management labor. We're going to plan on that you're at 50% here. All right, so it's 250,000, and this will probably be whatever 240,000 probably here, and then 10,000 on workers' comp. So I'm just rough ballparking that for you for now. Materials will stay zero, sales will stay zero, and then building out your overhead. The way that you're going to want to do this is, and I'm not going to do it just for time because you can. Take what you had this year monthly and just like multiply it, because I don't think your vehicle expenses probably changed much, and then look at all your other overhead tracking and just move that over to your new plan. All right, so is your overhead tracking accurate here? So
No.
like is November, or I'm sorry, is October accurate, Grace?
I, yes. Yeah. I didn't spend any money on marketing up until now.
Okay, and October, so you have almost no overhead expenses. Like if I went through your bank account,
Yeah.
besides paying for materials and subcontractors, you have
Yeah.
like these vehicle expenses and a cell phone, and that's it.
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't up until now. I'm about to spend a lot more on marketing.
Well, that's marketing, yeah. Just
Yeah.
on
Okay.
these
Yeah.
ones. So if we
My
look at
overhead
your
low.
Yeah, if we look at your vehicle expenses, so I'm just going to add that up. So it's 1,100 bucks a month. So your vehicle expenses, I'm just going to put a number here, is going to be 1,100 times 12. So that's your vehicle expense for the year. And then your other overhead, you're probably going to have some items here. You'll probably pay someone for accounting a couple $1,000 by the end of next year. That's probably all you need. Um, let's see, payroll tax is not going to be any healthcare. Phone stipend. You had a phone, and that was 300 a month, so that's going to be
Yeah.
3,600. Bank charges, payment processing, CRM. Paint Scout's going to cost you something. You'll probably start spending some money on office supplies, and that's sort of a marketing expense. So you could also put it down there. So we'll put it down there. Liability insurance. Are you including that in workers' comp up above?
I don't know if I put it here, but yes, I have that and I pay for that.
All right, let's put it there, because that doesn't vary the way workers' comp does. Meals, you might spend some money on your crews. You'll probably spend some money on recruitment of new crews, and then you can put where you're going to spend on Painting Business Pro here under training and development, because that's all a business write off. And then you don't have an office or anything else, right? Oh, you can write off your home
And I
internet
rent.
bill.
Yeah.
Yep,
Cool.
and you can write off a portion of your home for your office. All right, so that puts you at 9,500 in overhead, plus this 13,200 for business expense, and then marketing. We're just gonna say like 40,000. Now you probably don't need to spend 40,000, but if you spend 40,000, the way this all plays out is a $500,000 company next year. you'd net 187,000. Cool.
Sounds great.
All right. Yeah, that would be great. It'd be a
Yes,
a
but
huge
wait.
success.
I'll just say I
Yeah.
had like I kind of had a different vision. Like I'm looking at phase one completion, and it looks like I'm really close to
Yes,
being
you
able
are.
to hire someone. And I love
Yeah.
production, and I feel like I have good systems for it. But
Yep.
I think that I'm more valuable doing sales and estimates. So
Right.
like I'm kind of hoping to. Well, this is where I came here hoping to say like how soon can I hire someone in production because I'm
Yep.
investing a lot in marketing and I'm ready to do like 20 estimates a week or 10
Yep.
or whatever, and then I want to do 1 million next year.
Yep. I would name it. I mean, don't think you're thinking about how to set goals the wrong way.
Okay.
So this is important. I'm glad you brought this up because this is really important for everyone to think about. Is when you're building a business plan, you want to build the plan that you can hit with room to exceed it. What we're doing is building the business plan right now. Okay, so we want to build a plan that we know you can hit. And we haven't gotten to the sales and production plan yet, but just looking at the budget, it's like, hey, if you can do 500K and make $187,000 next year, I think that would put you in like a pretty good spot for your first full year in business.
I think it makes sense. The only thing I'm like, I don't want to be working to this level next year. Like I
Nobody
want
wants
to
to.
get my, like I want to hire a PM. I want to,
Yes, I'm clear about that. So, but the first thing is that the job of the business plan is not to motivate you, and it's not. See, what a lot of people do, Grace, is they say, I want to do 1 million next year. And then they go build the business plan for 1 million, and then they fall short of it, and it completely destroys their profitability.
hmm,
And so you end up doing 800,000, making 150 grand instead of doing, see, if we plan, so we're just building the business plan right now. See, what's going to happen, Grace, is what most people do is they set, they set this plan. And let's just say, like, this is the plan for the year, this line across. Okay. That's the plan. And what people end up doing is they're falling short of the plan the whole year, trying to catch up to that plan. Okay. And this gap of what you miss, first of all, it's a miserable way to run a business. Being behind sucks. Trying to catch up, because what you end up doing is you put this pressure on yourself where you end up waking up early, staying up late, cutting things with kids. You end up sacrificing other things in your life to try to catch up to the plan that you're behind, that you made up in the first place. But furthermore, when you make this plan, you're also going to like spend that much more marketing, and you're going to try to run faster than you can actually run right now.
that's fair.
And when people, anyone should go watch, it's a video that the thumbnail on YouTube, it says like last dollar income, but it's like all painting contractors need to know this, because when we learn this lesson and it costs us millions, literally in profit, we set a goal that's too high, and then you build your business plan. But Grace, all of your money, and this gets worse later. So you want to establish the habit early. But when you've got a $2 million business, and you're going to make 20% net profit, but you're making 50% gross profit. So if you're only going to make 20% bottom line at the end of the year, but you're making 50% on every job, it's because you have this fixed overhead expense. So what that means is that on the year, you've got some break even point where it's like, if I only do 800K, that first 800K pays for my overhead. And then I start making money. So if I set a goal of 2 million, but I only do 1.6, that like it cuts your profit margin in half. You miss your sales target by 20%, you miss your profit target by half. And you are in business to make money. Like you make money and do it in a sustainable way.
Right.
And so that's our intention, is like, hold on a second, like, yeah, I know, but people's ambitions and setting goals often leads people, and I've just seen it for decades, and I did it myself. And literally I can say decades because I've done this for 20 years.
Yeah.
People set big goals, and then they're falling short, and then they sacrifice and sabotage, and then it burns you out. You miss your target, you miss your profit. Setting the big goal doesn't get you to the result faster.
Okay.
So I'm not saying you're not going to do a million. You might do a million next year still. But you want to build your business plan around what you know you can hit. And then what's going to happen? So anyways, we'll come back to this, okay? Let
Okay.
me show you the rest of this first.
Okay.
So this is what I put in so far for Grace. So we put 500,000 at the top, 240 for subcontractors, 10,000 for workers' comp insurance. We moved over her vehicle expenses, the current expenses, and then I added in some expenses that I think probably are on here are going to be on her business. And then everything else you should be super cheap about. Like you don't need any other. The only thing that's not on here is any Painting Business Pro training expense. And then just look at your bank account every month and see if there's anything else missed. This puts your your business overhead at 95, your vehicle at 13.2, and then I put $40,000 in here because you should be able to spend 40 grand to hit your $500,000 goal, no problem. And if you spent 40 grand, like again, that's for you, that's $3,000 a month, a little more than that. You're gonna have no trouble hitting that 500K. And you'd make 187. Now let's look at what that looks like on the sales plan. So if we put 500,000 here with a $9,000 job size, let's assume a 60% lead conversion, because once you spend money on marketing, the lead conversion will go down. We're going to assume, Grace, because you're in Houston, so you don't have a lot of seasonality, we're going to assume that you just do a quarter of your sales every quarter. Is that about right? Or
Yeah, I think we do have, we do slow down a bit, November, December, at least that's what I'm seeing. But
all
I
right,
mean,
and when's the busiest?
that I don't know. I mean, August
Okay.
was always slow for us, but it was like my busiest month. So I don't know. I haven't been
Okay, so I
really on
think
it.
you're probably going to be busiest in the second quarter. And first quarter should be good too. So we'll say you hit 20, this blue part, this is what percentage you're planning to do in the first quarter. We'll say 25%, and then you're at 55%, and then you're at 83%, and then you wrap up. So we're also going to assume, Grace, a 40% sales rate, 35 in the first quarter, and then you're at 40, and then you're at 45.
Okay. Why do you
Okay,
do it
because
that
we
way?
know, sorry?
Why do you do it that way? Is this like,
Because right now your sales rate, you're 11 for 19, but that's also pretty much all referral, right?
yeah, it is.
And so when you start doing marketing on Facebook or using lead services, those aren't as good of leads. They're colder leads. So
Yeah.
you're likely going to have a lower sales rate. So we want to assume, again, we're building a plan. You guys want to build your plan not optimistically. You want to build it with some healthy skepticism. You
Yeah.
want to build a plan that you're going to hit. So let's just see what this looks like to hit. And then let me look at your production over here. So this is going to be 500,000 as well. And you're going to produce like 10% because this is going to lag a little bit. And then you'll be at probably 35, probably 40% here, and 70 there. And yeah, it'll be done there. So this is what this looks like. All right, Grace. So you need 6 leads a week, do 3 estimates, and book 1 job for 10K. That's all you got to do in the first quarter. Okay?
6 leads a week,
Doable.
3 estimates,
One
$10,000.
book job, 10,000 sales.
I can do
You
it.
have to do this basically the same thing the second quarter. You're just going to have a little bit higher sales rate, so the averages are going to be a little higher. And then the third quarter, it can slow down a little. 5, 3, 1, 11. And then the fourth quarter, 3, 2, 1, 8,300. Okay?
Okay.
I know that you're like, this is way too easy. That's the point. The first
Yeah.
point I'm making is how easy this is. All right.
Yeah. It looks
Because
very
what you need to
achievable.
do before you hire other people is we need to come back and say, okay, now that we've built that plan, Grace, doesn't that look incredibly easy to you?
It looks very achievable.
Yeah, super easy. And would you be in pretty good shape if you you could do this in 30 hours a week, right?
I guess. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I
I
think that I
mean,
need to
yeah.
master my time in life to be
Well,
able to
you
do
do,
that.
but like forget how poorly you manage your time. How long does it take you to do 3 estimates?
6 hours with
Let's
driving.
call 8 hours with drive time and everything.
Yeah.
8 hours. All right. And then to manage 4,000 a week and then 12 and then 12 and then 11, you're basically managing 1 job a week. You shouldn't have to, that should be no more than an hour a day.
Plus driving. So 2 hours.
Driving where? I mean, I guess, sure, we'll say 2 hours a day. So
Yeah.
that's 10 hours a week. So you're at 18 hours a week. You should be able to do this in 20 hours a week. Okay.
Okay.
Just work time. And that's why we got to master your time, because you've got to carve out, like, this is when I get my work done. All right. So, and that's partly why we don't want to set a huge goal, Grace, because we don't want to overextend you, because you've got a lot of accountabilities taking care of 5 kids.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's I like the idea of like approaching this in a really sustainable way, but I know that I am not going to be working 20 hours a week in January. I know that I'm going to have 10 estimates or more scheduled. I know that
No,
my
yeah,
sales.
but that's not the way to do it.
Okay, I'm not saying change this, but I think that
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I'm not
You're going
even.
to exceed it. See, this is where it's like, how do I grow the business in a healthy way?
Yeah, I mean, how do I? And because I'm not
Right.
gonna. I like sometimes I struggle with rigidity, and like when I look at this, if I'm like, okay, I've got 18 hours and this is my target, but then I'm like, well, how do I
Yep.
like? I know I'm going to be selling more than that. I mean, I hope I will. I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I
Yeah.
know that I'm
And
going
that
to
would
be
be
doing
good.
more.
That's good. That's different. See, the plan, people think that if I set a goal, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, people get all excited about their goal. Your goal is irrelevant. We just need to make a plan that's intelligent. It's like,
Okay.
okay, if I can hit this, like, I'm good.
Okay.
And this would be great, really healthy growth and all that. But, the healthy way to build a business is what most people do, Grace, is they come in and they set the goal for 1 million, and then they're falling short. And that creates other problems, because you're behind. You're behind throughout the year. When you're behind, then you're playing catch up, and you start doing things that are unhealthy to business growth. What you're going to do is, we're going to go and say, all right, so your roadmap. So let's pull over. If I pull over the basics here, we need to finish your master time in Q4 2024 and Q5 2025. Like, you've got to get your time mastered, where it's like, this is my work schedule. I'm totally in control of it, period. You've got to get the hit six, I mean, you don't need to hit 6 estimates a week. Let's say hit 6 estimates a week. All right, that's going to be Q1 2025. You're already at 10% cost of marketing. This is Q4 2024. You're finishing your estimating procedure. Subs are good. Your sales is good for now, but that's going to be a focus in Q1 2025. Once you're doing more cold leads, produce what you sell, reliable crews, all that's good. All your margins are good. You're going to stick to this. And then we need to implement. So this is going to be Q4 2024 is a Google Sheets CRM. That's in the course, by the way.
Okay.
And then 40 hours a week. The target here is probably 25 to 30 hours per week for you. You'll know this once you do the master your time training, to really understand, like, how much time do you have available? Okay. So what's going to happen, Grace, is you got to get those things all done first before you can hire a project manager. And even if you can sell more, that's great. That's not the bottleneck for you. So we got to solve for the bottleneck in the business. So once we actually get into the year and you're like, all right, I got 8 leads, I did 4 estimates, and I outsold this target, and I could get even more. Like that, sales is not your bottleneck. What's your bottleneck?
I think it's leads. Like,
Nope. If you
is
spend
it
$3,000, a month, like we just budgeted, you will not have a shortage of leads.
okay? Um,
You
is
need
my
6 a week. You're already getting 5. You're already getting 4 to 5 a week with no money spent. So you need 2 more leads a week. That's 10 a month, like $1,000 a month. Like, marketing is not going to be the bottleneck. And then your ability to sell is not the bottleneck. What's the bottleneck to the growth of the business?
like the putting the stuff in the spreadsheet?
Well, it's your time.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
It's your time. So you're trying to think, how am I'm gonna be doing all this stuff. You're already thinking, like, man, I'm gonna sell the pants off this. Like, I'm not gonna sell only 500,000. I could go sell 1 million. I could go sell 2 million. Look, Grace, if I had a company in Houston, I'm like, hey, Grace, why don't you just come work with us? We're just gonna load you with 15 estimates a week. You'd go sell 2 to 3. You'd probably sell 3 million. So why don't you do that in your business? Well, because you'd have to produce it, and you can't do both. The bottleneck in your business is time. It's not marketing. It's not your ability to sell. It's literally your time. And so very quickly, what's going to happen in this business plan that we just made, if you follow it, right, is you're going to be exceeding these targets. And your job now is, like, to remove the next constraint. which is going to be hiring a project manager. And Grace, I know this looks very doable where you're like, I could work more than that though. I'm like, yeah, but if you fill up all your work hours running the business, when are you going to have time to hire and train a project manager? And the answer is you won't. Or you're
Yeah.
going to start to sacrifice. So we want to have this be achievable. And then say, hey, I'm hitting this and I'm hitting these every week and I could scale this, but if I doubled sales, then my production would double and all of a sudden I would be pulling my hair out. Like, okay, then the bottleneck is you need to hire a project manager. But Grace, we can't hire a project manager until you can check all these other boxes. Like you've got your time dialed in, you're hitting your estimates, your estimating is dialed, your sales is dialed, and your tech stack is in place. Now, if all that's in place, then which according to this roadmap we just did, you should have no problem doing that by quarter one. And then what would happen, Grace, is in quarter two, and maybe sooner, you start hiring your production manager. Now, as soon as you have a production manager trained, let's say you do that in all of Q2, all right? All of quarter two, you hire that project manager. And now by quarter three, you're not doing any project management yourself. Then just because the number on the spreadsheet says your goal is 5 leads a week and 3 doesn't mean you can't do more than that. If in quarter three, you have a production manager in place who can produce $40,000 a week for you, then what can you do in quarter three? You can spend more on marketing.
Okay.
And instead of 3 estimates a week, you can do 8. And instead of 1 job booked a week, you can close 4 and you can start selling $36,000 a week. And in a 12-week quarter, you could add $250,000 above and beyond your target, your initial target. And now you're like, hey, now I'm actually trending for 750. But here's the thing is if we go look at the budget, because of how we've built this plan, you're going to do an extra 250 here, which is $125,000 in additional gross profit. Or you're going to pay your production manager, let's say $50K for the back half of the year. So you're actually going to add $75,000 in profit to your bottom line. So you actually end up making 260. You'll actually end up doing 750 and making 260.
That sounds unbelievable.
And that's and then also we can say, yeah, but also you're going to sell 30K a week this whole quarter and add another 250. And you very well might go and do $1 million and make 325,000. You just want to set the plan so that like, okay, great. Like the plan is good. I'm going to hit the plan. And then, yeah, I can absolutely go smash the plan. But trying to rush it, if instead what we did right now, Grace, is we just made this plan for $1 million and we started to mess with this, it would immediately create some pressure. And what that pressure does is it often forces you into taking shortcuts and doing things the wrong way.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And rushing things.
Yeah.
How a lot of people make their goals and plans is they make their goals and plans as if like that's what's going to happen. And if I set a bigger goal, I'll do better.
Will happen. Yeah.
And if I set a lower goal, then that's the limit. Like that's not the point of a plan. Like if you're motivated, you don't need a plan to motivate you.
Okay. Yeah.
But when people start to use it as a motivational tactic and as like, I need to shoot for the stars, and it's like, no, that screws up your business because you don't build it the right way. Your only thing that you need to be doing, Grace, is getting that roadmap really solid, getting your time really dialed, and then you need to hire a production manager. And while you're doing that, you need to hit these goals. And then if you bring on a production manager, it's going to scale, it's going to grow. But you're going to be doing it in a way that like you're not behind, you're ahead. Like, do you know how good it feels when you're supposed to be at Q1 and you're supposed to be at 150,000 and you're at 180? And then in Q2, you're like hiring a production manager, and in Q3, you're supposed to be doing 12,000 a week, but you just had a $40,000 week and you just averaged 35K a week 4 weeks in a row. And when money is just piling into the bank account because you're way ahead. See, when you miss targets, it costs you profit.
Can you explain that to me a little better? I don't understand that.
Yeah, you would need to, because you'll start spending a whole bunch of money on the overhead that you need to hit the bigger goals.
Yes. Okay. That makes sense.
So we would build for $1 million business plan. We would build your business plan different. We would actually start like having to put in a lot of other expenses, and it creates overhead. And then if you fall short with higher overhead, like it impacts your margin.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah, already doing this, I like see that I've allocated too much money for marketing, and but I can catch it now. So I'm like, okay, well maybe I should be spending closer to this.
3,000 a month,
Okay.
would be totally healthy. That's what we just built on your business plan.
Yeah.
So the other thing too, not and again, this might I don't know how this lands for people. It's like keep this simple, guys. I mean, if you can do $500,000 and make $187,000 in profit and do it 25 hours a week in your second year in your first full year in business, Grace, you're winning the game. And the reality is that if you do that, you are going to be bored because you are going to hit those numbers so easily that you're going to be like, Eric, I've like literally checked everything in this. Like, it's not like you can't do the next thing because your plan said 500K. You will do the next thing. And you can change this business plan through the year. You can go and be like, hey, we're ahead. Now let's bump it up to 700 and add this line item in for the production manager. Let's update the budget. Let's update the sales plan because I'm cruising now. Hey, let's up it again. Like that's a lot more fun than setting a big goal and being behind the whole year and then sacrificing my personal time, my health, my time with my kids and other things trying to keep up with this plan. And again, when you're in that frame, like what you will do is you will take shortcuts, not on purpose, but because you're trying to keep up with a plan.
Yeah.
And shortcuts include not taking time for myself, not taking time off, not taking time to learn. Like you get into this just like dead sprint trying to keep up with some made up target. So it undermines your performance. It undermines your actual performance. And your performance is ultimately what drives the business. People perform better when they're ahead than when they're behind in business.
Okay. I get it.
All right, so I'll share that doc with you. And Grace, we're going to send you new 2025 master business plans. So you'll just take what we put together here real quick, and you put it on the new one when they send those out this
Okay.
week. What are you taking out of this?
The same thing as always. Like, I mean, it's really good. It just, I tend to just like set this crazy goal and like don't account for other areas of my life. And this really makes, it's always like this. Like when I sat down with Hunter, like I want to do 400K in Q4. And he's like, maybe 250 and work on all these other areas. So
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
And we're saying it because we did what you're trying to do and want to do, and it burned us.
Yeah. Yes.
And I've seen it burn a lot of people. Okay, so here's what you want to do is that I just shared it with you. It's in your email. But
Thank
on
you.
that roadmap, Grace, that use the course, use Christiana, use me for like all those things, particularly on a good webinar with us would be like to dive into the master your time stuff and start to get, the flip your thinking around like, because I have such a crazy schedule, what's the point of creating a very specific schedule if it's all going to change all the time anyway? That's one of the illusions people have is the illusion of rigidity when I have a schedule that I can live by. It's not rigid. It's ultimate flexibility because everything I have given my word to is in my calendar. So when things need to change, I can very quickly click and drag and move them while maintaining my integrity. We had Josephine's 32 weeks pregnant. We had like a little scare last night at 7:30, and it was like, oh no, like what's going on? We hurried over to the hospital, and everything turned out to be like nothing at all, which is good. Everything's super healthy, right? But what I did is I knew what I had today, so I just texted Christiana and said, hey, I might need to move all my stuff tomorrow, heads up. And I already knew that if I moved them there, they'd move to Thursday would move to there, that would move to there, and my integrity was like instantly maintained. The more things you are accountable for, the more important it is to keep your word in existence. Otherwise, what's going to happen, Grace, is a fundamental lack of integrity, and the lack of integrity is going to undermine your performance.
Yes.
You have no idea the level of peace of mind you'll experience when you get everything out of here into a calendar that you can live by. And there's going to be a feedback loop of improvement and learning how to operate effectively. You'll learn your habits and what works best for your schedule too.
Can I ask you kind of a specific question about that? And
Yeah,
I'm
and this
glad
will be
you guys.
our last 2 minutes, and then I got to jump on my
Okay.
next one.
How do you like? Because I get the calendar and all the things you need to do, and I get work hours, and I feel like I've implemented a lot of that. But when it comes to time with my family, like that's where I think everything just because I'm like, well, if I have it scheduled every day to go to the park with them, but some days they can't go to the park, should I just create like a block of time for my
Yeah,
kids? Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Is that
yeah. I
what
mean,
you
I
do?
have just giant. I mean, including like a giant block. It's just like family day, and it could be totally spontaneous what you do during that, or it's like after 5, it's just like evening routine with the kids. Like that's kind of what it's in mind. It's like, oh, 5:30 till I don't have like, okay, at 5:30 we give hugs, and at 6 o'clock I make dinner, and at 6:30 we sit
Okay.
down, and at no, but it's blocked. It's blocked, so that is dedicated time with my family. And yeah, within that block I can do whatever. And same with like a weekend with friends, or like Sunday it's just football at the Walters. That's what we do. So
Okay.
yeah.
Thank
And
you.
bring all the follow-up questions you have to this to the webinars, and we'll
Thank
dig
you
in
so much.
deeper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Great. I hope that was valuable for people. Everybody leave a comment below and just tell me feedback. Like, is it valuable, not valuable? What did you take out of it? What didn't you? And we'll see if we can do more like coaching call style like this for some of the YouTube videos and things like that. What were you saying, Grace?
No, just I really appreciate you taking the time. It's very valuable
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah, dude. Well, you're rocking. We love you. You're
Love
a superstar.
you.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the show. I hope you found it valuable. We make these episodes in the show for you, truly. So your feedback is super valuable to us, whether it's, things you liked, things you didn't like, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. Any feedback you can give us is going to be super helpful as we continue to evolve and improve the show over time. And if you want a copy of the Fast Growth Roadmap for Painting Contractors, which really simplifies the steps you take to building a business, we've got that resource for free for you. Just check the description or the bio where you're watching or listening to this episode, and you can just click and download that for free, and it should help give you a good roadmap for how to build and scale your business like the people that you're listening to on the show. So thanks for listening in. We'll see you soon.